For many Australian car enthusiasts, Holden's SS Commodore is regarded as the first stop as a performance family car.
And the HSV range is considered the pinnacle. But what happens to both of these cars when you add Walkinshaw's Racing Edition supercharger kit?
Now, ordinarily, a thumping V8 engine would offer enough mumbo to satisfy almost any rev head. However, the latest add-on kit from Walkinshaw Racing takes performance to another level. The pack comprises a supercharger, high-flow injectors, a cold air intake package, ceramic-coated headers, catback exhaust, and a camshaft and valve spring upgrade. It costs $24,490 installed and is limited to just 50 examples. On a regular SS Commodore, outputs are raised to a stratospheric 500 kilowatts and 800 newton meters. Now have a think about those two main figures, 500 kilowatts of power and 800 newton meters of torque. That's the sort of power and torque outputs to rival some of the latest supercars from Lamborghini or Ferrari. The difference is that this car is an 1800 kilogram Commodore sedan. Now the Walkinshaw that we're driving at the moment is based on the standard SS variant. So it's got obviously the 6 litre V8, 260 kilowatts and 517 newton meters in automatic guise. So a fair power upgrade from standard. One of the big challenges for Walkinshaw would have been adding all that extra power without affecting the drivability of the car. In the past, some Walkinshaw cars haven't been able to strike that balance quite perfectly. But I'm happy to say this latest kit is leaps ahead of those older packages. As well as bringing noticeable increases in power, it is still as drivable as before. The first impression with this Walkinshaw kit is that exhaust note. Obviously the VF is pretty quiet in standard trim, but as you can probably hear, this kit certainly ups the ante in that department. It's quite a nice note as well. To be honest, I've had this car for about 300 kilometres now, and I haven't once thought to turn on the radio, so the initial impression is good. The thing with it though is whether the novelty will wear off. And I've noticed a couple of things with the noise, and that's that it's ever present, especially at highway speed. So if you're sitting at sort of 1500 revs, at 110 kilometres an hour, it's constantly humming in the background, as you can probably hear now. But when you do give it a little bit of welly, it's definitely a nicer note than standard. Now happily this car is still as drivable as the everyday Commodore. It's only really when you sink your boot in that you notice that increase in power and that supercharger really kick in. Now if you're driving this car manually, it's pretty hard to fault. Once it gets sort of above 2,500 RPM, put your foot down, there's barely any hesitation. And in dry conditions it puts the power down pretty seamlessly. The difference is when you're driving this car in the normal drive or sport mode. If you put the hammer down there's actually a noticeable hesitation, mainly from about 2,000 RPM. It takes about a second and a half to really reach its straps. Once it does, it pulls really cleanly. It's quite an impressive thing. We've managed to get 4.4 seconds in the 0 to 100 testing today, which isn't too bad for just a Commodore with a bolt-on supercharger. Holden have put so much work into making the VF a car built for Australian conditions, and it really impresses with its on-road performance. But for those wanting a bit more power, the Walkinshaw kit adds plenty of mumbo. Now as good as this pack is, and as good as the donor car is in putting the power down and everything else, there's one shortfall with the Commodore, and that has to be its brakes. They fade pretty easily, as we've found during our extensive testing of the SS. It's almost like the Walkinshaw needs a bit more performance to start off with.
And that's where HSV's Clubsport comes into play. Fitted with a more powerful 6.2 litre V8 engine from standard, the HSV addresses some of the performance shortcomings of the regular SS, pumping out 325 kilowatts and 550 newton meters straight out of the HSV factory. So with the Walkinshaw performance package on top of it, it gives it 550 kilowatts and 980 newton meters of torque. That is absolutely blistering sort of power. And to put it in perspective, we've managed a 4.1 0 to 100 out of it today, which is damn impressive. Over the SS, the R8 also has the different settings in the stability control. Things that'll let you actually have a little bit of fun, let you hang the tail out a little bit on a track day and still have the confidence of the stability control working. The package that's on this R8 has got a bimodal exhaust on it, and I can tell you, compared to the SS, for me personally, I think it's much nicer. It's a little bit quieter when you're cruising, but when you open up the taps, oh yeah, it sounds great. Just like the SS, Sam mentioned the flat spot. Well, this car has it too, but it's nowhere near as bad. And other than that, it delivers the power smoothly through the entire rev range. With the Clubsport's extra features like HSV's enhanced driver interface, heads-up display, passive entry, forward collision alert, performance seats, bigger bolstered steering wheel, extra gauges, and not to mention styling perspective. The list goes on. Now, this package is reasonably refined overall, but there is one exception, and it's due to the nature of the beast and the design of the supercharger. And it's basically a slight knocking noise that comes from the engine and the fuel rail system at idle. Some people, it ain't gonna bother. Others, they could be a little bit annoyed by it. HSV's supercharged GTS has its entire driveline beefed up over the rest of the HSV range. It has a bigger, stronger transmission, diff, drive shafts and tail shaft. So will the standard gearbox and driveline hold up to the job when this package is fitted? Walkinshaw Performance assures Drive the kit is a result of thousands of hours of in-house testing and comes backed with a full driveline warranty. The Walkinshaw kit is well put together, and the best part is you won't have to carry jerry cans around with you, with fuel use averaging around 13.5 litres per 100 Ks in both these vehicles.
There's no doubting that the Walkinshaw Commodore kit delivers on what it promises, and that is stonking performance. But I think you have to agree, Mark, it's probably not for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. You think about it, you purchase the R8 and then the package on top, and you're heading into GDS territory, money-wise that is. So for me, it makes more sense to add the package to the SS.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you. This thing is a niche product, it's quality built, but it's also brutal. I think for the right kind of person, it'd be the perfect match.
Yeah, absolutely.